So the day before Mother's Day, I was doing some journaling and I had written a poem to my children for Mother's Day, but I also did a little bit of filming because I was going to bring something to you that never made it here, but it was something for my mom. I miss you, Mom, each and every day. I have so many questions I'd want to ask you. I'd also written a bunch in my journal to her about that, all the questions that I want to ask, or some of them. Met up with my adult children and we had brunch, and then we had a little tailgate present party. My son and my daughter-in-law had made me a gift that was like a butcher block cutting board, and they had worked with my husband to get from my mom's pie book one of her favorite recipes, and we knew that because it was underlined. It was a recipe I'd made often. It was a blueberry lemon pie, but they had took from another recipe that she had written out for me, and it said, "Any questions, call Mom." They had put that also on this in the corner, and I just burst out and was like overwhelmed with emotion because I had just written and been very present with my missing still, and I let them know that, and that to me is generational healing. My mom has been gone for 15 years now, and I can't go back and necessarily have that repair work with her physical self, but there's something in the airwaves that I was able to have this interaction with my son and daughter-in-law and my whole family there. That was so meaningful and so precious. And that is generational healing. It will go forward. It'll go forward with my grandchildren. And you can have that too. And I believe what we need to do is spot those moments. We need to be primed and aware of ourselves to know that's what we're looking for, because sometimes they're very small. We need to be open to them and see them for how we need to see them for healing. Other people might not see it that way. They might have just seen it, oh, that's so sweet, or so kind, or look what they did. They're so creative. They can make anything. I saw it for a much deeper meaning in my world, in their world, and for the future of our lineage, right? That there's healing continuing always. Goals as a parent has always been to be consciously aware of generational trauma and to be the change that I wanted or needed in my life, and to help my children to just be a little bit more free from any trauma that has been carried on in our gene line. So there was an interesting study done in 2013 at Emory University where they did a study and they conditioned mice to fear the smell of cherry blossoms. The way they did that is when they would introduce the cherry blossom smell, they would also give a tiny electrical shock. And so it conditioned the mice to fear the smell of the cherry blossom. And then what they did was they studied the effect on those mice's offspring. And to further explore the nurture versus nature effect, they placed the offspring with mice that had not been conditioned to fear the smell of the cherry blossom. What they found is that the offspring also exhibited a fear to the smell. So this study really brought to light again the implications of genetics, generational trauma passing through the genes. So the effects of extreme trauma can be traced in future generations even if those circumstances are not present in the life and can affect behavior and mental health, emotional health of offspring to come. So that study shows one way that transgenerational trauma can be passed down from generation to generation, from effects of war, of displacement, of hunger, of different things that could have created this trauma within the original person. So the first thing we do in generational healing is we become aware that that's actually occurred, that there has been some generational trauma that occurred in our history line. The second thing that we do is we start to look at inherited beliefs or patterns that might have been passed down from generation to generation. Cultural conditioning, family conditioning, all of that just gets passed down. It can include unhealthy relationships, unhealthy coping strategies, ways of communicating or not communicating, or dealing with trauma. The third thing we do is we acknowledge and we bring awareness to these things. This is often a really sticky point that I find as a therapist with my clients, because it can bring up a lot of pain, but it's super important. Sometimes we don't want to look back because it triggers pain inside of us now, but it's important to separate the pain that we're feeling now and see potentially an origin of it so that we can see it's not ours. Can we look at hidden or suppressed stories that might give clues to the patterns that have been passed down? Why does everybody always do this? It's kind of like becoming a detective in your own family, for your own genealogy, for your own mental and emotional health, spiritual well-being. So once we start to get that information, we can really start to look at and explore inside of ourselves what we've inherited that's not necessarily ours, but we might have adopted as ours. How can we do that? Well, with therapy, individual, family therapy, maybe some ancestral study, maybe some coaching, talking to a minister or priest who's known your family, really getting in there and starting to do some deeper work with inside of yourself, maybe some parts work. This is also where creativity can come in if words aren't there, like with the doodling to connect. Let yourself explore in a way that can bring up or help you get in touch with something deeper, like your body, that maybe you haven't been able to before. So now the fifth and final part of this is we're really on a path here. We are the cycle breakers. And so with that, we're consciously choosing to continue to take care of ourselves, to be the one who's going to bring things to the forefront, to communicate, to take care of ourselves, to not let things go underground, at least not for too long. We're going to cope with old stressors. We're going to continue as trauma comes up to address it, to feel it inside of our body, to be with it, and to give it the place it's always needed to express and release. Finding that safe haven within inside yourself, maybe with a safe other, that you can let go of some of this. And this is generational healing. So I invite you to notice the small things within your family today, the small things that you might not have noticed. If you want to go a little bit further with this, I have this other video, mindful parenting and how you can really hear your kids. I think you might like it. Listen, I'm so glad that you're with me today. I look forward to seeing you again real soon. I think I'm going to be doing a little bit of a parenting series. I have some ideas in my head. So if it's something you're interested in and it seems to fit, then go ahead and give it a like, maybe even subscribe so you don't miss the next video. I'll see you real soon.